He was just taking his usual walk till he saw a boy with bruised wrists, a dog with haunted eyes, and a bundle of firewood too heavy for any child to carry. What started as a quiet evening on Birch Street spiraled into a hidden world of fear, secrets, and a rescue mission that would change everything. Behind one knock on a door waited a nightmare no one saw coming. If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe and like the video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching. From now, let's jump into the story. Marcus Hale felt the soft evening settle over Birch Street like warm dust. Terraced red brick houses, once alive with weekend chatter, now sat silent. A thin breeze pushed litter along the curbs, and every shutter looked welded shut. Marcus walked. In uniform, though, it was his day off. Without it, he felt half-dash erased. A sudden grunt broke the hush. Ahead, a boy of maybe 12 staggered into view. He balanced a crooked bundle of firewood on narrow shoulders, rope biting into his collarbone. Each stick looked heavier than the last. Beside him, padded a German shepherd with a torn ear, eyes scanning every doorway. Marcus eased closer. "This looks heavy," he said, palms open. The boy kept his gaze on the pavement, as if eye contact might cost more than he owned. Dirt streaked a tear down his cheek. Dark bruises ringed his wrist where the coat sleeve had slid back. Marcus knelt to shrink his frame. The dog edged between them but did not growl. "Strong friend you've got," Marcus said, nodding. "What's his name?" After a long moment, the boy whispered, "Cedar." The name landed with surprising weight. Marcus let the silence sit. "I'm Marcus. You are?" "Lucian," he breathed, and the syllables seemed to steal his last ounce of strength. His knees folded. The bundle clattered onto tarmac. Marcus caught him before he hit. Cedar pressed close, nose touching Lucian's cheek. The boy's skin felt paper-thin. Marcus checked, pulse weak, but steady. "Easy, pal," he murmured. "You're safe." Lucian's eyelids fluttered. "If I don't bring the wood, we don't eat," he whispered. Marcus scanned the vacant street. No one came running. No porch lights flicked on. What home makes hunger a condition of a child's labor, he wondered. He lifted Lucian in his arms. The boy weighed less than Marcus's old field pack. Cedar trotted beside them, shoulders rigid but trusting enough to follow. Marcus's car sat half a block away. He dialed emergency services, relaying clip details while lowering Lucian onto the back seat. Cedar jumped in after him and lay across the boy's legs like a living blanket. The drive to the ER lasted 7 minutes. Marcus watched the rear view, boy unconscious, dog vigilant, sunset dying behind rooftops. Orderlies met them with a gurney. Cedar hesitated until Marcus placed a steady hand on his scruff and promised, right beside him. Inside the bright corridor, antiseptic air replaced street dust. Nurses cut away Lucian's oversized coat. Beneath the cloth bloomed old bruises and fresh scratches. Cedar rested his muzzle on Lucian's stomach, eyes locked on every stranger hand. A nurse glanced at Marcus's uniform. "Father or guardian?" "Friend," he answered. The word felt small but accurate. Paperwork followed, dress insurance. Next of kin. Marcus supplied only what he knew: the boy's first name, the dog's loyalty, the street where they met. Behind swinging doors, machines beeped. Marcus paced the hall, boots squeaking against linoleum, mind replaying the scene. Mismatched boots, firewood, a tear making its own muddy road, minutes stretched. Finally, a doctor stepped out. "Dehydrated, malnourished," she said. "Nothing critical, but the boy needs rest and safety." Safety. Marcus tasted the word like metal, had worn it as armor overseas, yet here it felt fragile. "Can the dog stay?" he asked. Under observation, the doctor shrugged. "They seem inseparable." Marcus thanked her and walked to a vending machine, buying 2 waters he did not want. People hurried past, parents with fevers, teenagers with sprains, but none of them saw the war still echoing in a hallway where a child slept. Beside a scar-nosed shepherd, he returned to the door window. Cedar lay curled against Lucian, both breathing slow, almost synchronized. Marcus pressed his palm to the glass.
"Outside."
Birch Street already lay in darkness. Street lamps flickered, and far off a siren wailed another life, another crisis. But this one was his now. He remembered a village overseas where he once carried a wounded girl through mortar smoke. The weight of Lucian felt the same, light in, body heavy in meaning. Marcus straightened, decision settling like a loaded magazine. Hush! When the boy woke, he would ask questions. Who waited for that wood? Why the bruises? And most urgent, what shadow followed a child so closely that even a dog had learned to guard in silence? For now, Marcus stayed, uniform and all, because the night outside had enough ghosts already. Here, under buzzing hospital lights, he could at least be a witness. Maybe more. An orderly walked by, glancing at the soldier whose eyes never left. The small form beyond the glass? Marcus did not blink. Somewhere beyond Birch Street, answers waited, sharp as shrapnel. But they would come in time. Tonight began with a grunt, a collapse, and a promise made to a boy who thought silence was safety. Marcus intended to keep it. The hum of the hospital lights never stopped. It was a soft, endless buzz that filled the quiet moments with a low tension. Like a whisper no one wanted to hear. Marcus Hale sat in a stiff plastic chair, elbows on his knees, eyes locked on the door at the end of the hall. It had been over an hour since the doctors took Lucian inside. Cedar the dog curled at Marcus's boots, barely moving except for the flick of his ear every time a nurse's shoes squeaked by. Marcus didn't know why this hit him harder than anything he had seen in uniform. Maybe because there were no uniforms here, no battlefield. It's just a boy, a bundle of firewood, and too many unanswered questions. The door opened at last. A nurse, kind-eyed and tired, stepped into the hall. He's awake, she said, hydrated, underfed, but stable. Not talking much, though. Can I see him? Marcus asked, already halfway up. The nurse gave a small nod. He asked for you. That answer hit Marcus like a blow he didn't expect. Cedar stood, tail low, and followed without being told. They walked together into the dim hospital room. Lucian sat up on the bed, swallowed by an oversized hospital gown. His hair was messy, his face pale, but his eyes were open and clear. Cedar jumped gently onto the bed and lay across Lucian's feet like a blanket made of muscle and loyalty. Marcus sat in the chair beside the bed. How are you feeling? Lucian nodded once. He didn't speak. You don't have to talk right away, Marcus said gently. But I need to ask you something important. Someone's hurting you, aren't they? There was a long silence. The only sound was the soft clicking of the machines nearby. Lucian stared at the wall. His fingers clutched Cedar's fur like it was the only solid thing in the world. Finally, in a whisper, he answered, He's gone now. Who? Marcus asked quietly. Oscar, Lucian said, the name slipping out like a wound reopening. He locked me in the shed, said I needed to toughen up, said Cedar was the only friend I deserved. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. The way Lucian spoke, calm, quiet, to controlled, wasn't how children should talk. He'd seen it before in refugee camps, kids with eyes too old for their age. Was Oscar your dad? Lucian shook his head. No, he said he took me in. Said no one else wanted to. Marcus leaned back slightly, absorbing each word. It wasn't just one bad day. This had been a pattern, a long, quiet nightmare. Lucian's next words came out slow. If anyone came looking for me, I had to run, or they'd disappear too. Marcus frowned. He told you that? Lucian nodded. Last time someone came, they were gone the next week. No one ever came again. Air in the room grew still. Cedar lifted his head and looked toward the door. Marcus felt something tighten inside him. This wasn't just a case of a man being cruel. This was something darker. Marcus stood, pulling out an old flip phone from his coat pocket. He scrolled through contacts until he reached the name he needed, Nell Harding. She answered on the third ring. Hale, is this about what I think it is? It's worse, Marcus replied. There's a kid. He mentioned someone named Oscar, and he said something about others disappearing. Nell was quiet for a moment. Then her voice sharpened. Where are you? Hospital. Room 304. Bring what you have. I'm on my way. As Marcus hung up, Lucian looked at him. You were talking about him, weren't you? Marcus walked back to the bed and crouched beside it. Yes, and I won't lie to you. This isn't going to be easy. You're not alone anymore. Lucien stared back at him, and after a pause he said, Someone said that before too. What happened to them? Marcus asked. They disappeared, Lucien replied, voice small. No one asked questions. Marcus didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. He knew that name, Oscar Draxler. A man with a sealed record, whispers of past crimes, but no one ever convicted him. Every time he vanished, rumors followed. Just then, a knock echoed from the front of the hospital wing. Not a normal knock. 3 slow taps, then silence. Lucien went pale. His voice shook. That's him. That's how he knocks. Wait. He stood fast, moved to the door, and signaled the nurse to keep the boy inside no matter what. He stepped into the hallway, body tense, hand hovering near his coat. No weapon here, just instinct and adrenaline. He reached the main lobby. No one stood at the entrance, just the automatic doors swishing shut. On the floor sat a single piece of paper folded and pinned under a small stone. Marcus bent and picked it up. Scrawled in thick ink were 5 words. He belongs to Black Loft. Marcus stared at the message, a chill crawling down his spine. That name meant nothing to most people, but not to him. Black Loft wasn't a place, it was a person. Marcus knew without any doubt that Lucien's story had just turned into something far more dangerous. The note weighed nothing, yet Marcus felt it drag on his heart like iron. 5 crude words, he belongs to Black Loft, now ruled every thought in his head. The hospital lobby's glass doors slid shut behind him with a sigh, as if the building itself knew trouble, had just walked in and wanted no part of it. He slipped the paper into his pocket and hurried back to room 3. Cedar's low growl reached him before he even pushed the door open. Inside, Lucien sat stiff on the mattress, eyes wide. Did you find anyone? The boy asked. Marcus shook his head. There's no sign of him, but he left a message. He knelt, hand steady on Cedar's neck, and spoke softly. Lucien, do you know? A placeor? A person called Black Loft? Lucien swallowed hard. Not a place. A man, he whispered. Felix Mordain. Oscar called him the boss of bosses. Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd heard that name in bad corners of military. Briefings, Felix Mordain, Special Ops, dismissed for unethical conditioning. Every rumor said he never touched hurt himself. He just made sure others did. A sharp rap on the doorframe made them jump. Nell Harding stepped in, gray coat flapping behind her. Her eyes, sharp as broken glass, took everything in. I read your text. She handed Marcus a folder thick with clippings and notes. Mordain's trail looks like smoke, but kids vanish wherever he goes. Marcus opened the folder. Grainy photos showed a burned paper mill outside town. Police tape sagged, abandoned long ago, handwritten beside it. Black Loft Rendezvous. Nell tapped the image, left empty since a fire in '96. Neighbors say trucks still rolling at night, lights off. If Mordain's running a ring, that's his nest. Lucien hugged Cedar closer. I've been there once. Only once. Oscar said it's where kids go when they stop being useful. Silence fell, thick as wet cement. Marcus rose. Then that's where we go. Now, Nell raised a brow. We can't. Walk in blind. I'm done waiting, Marcus said. They already know where to find us. 3 hours later, Marcus's battered pickup rumbled down a back road, lit only by the truck's weak beams and a half moon. Nell rode shotgun, map spread across her knees. Lucien sat between them, Cedar's head in his lap. The boy wore borrowed jeans and Marcus's old field jacket. Both hung loose on his thin shoulders. 2 miles ahead, Nell murmured, tracing a finger along a scribbled line. There's a side gate. Chains cut in these photos, someone uses it regular. Marcus kept one hand tight on the wheel. We park 300 yards out, move on foot. Hey, bring me, Lucien said, voice firm for the first time. Know the inside, I can guide you. Marcus glanced at him. Fear lived in the boy's eyes, but something stronger sat beside it, purpose. All right, he agreed, but you stay next to me always. Fog thickened as they turned off the pavement onto gravel. Trees leaned over the road, branches knitting together like dark ribs. When the mill finally appeared, it rose from the fog like a skeleton. Charred beams, broken windows, an empty watchtower against the gray sky. Marcus killed the engine. Gravel popped beneath the tires as the truck settled. Everyone listened. No wind, no crickets. Just distant water dripping. Inside the ruin, they stepped out. Nell swung a backpack onto her shoulder, flashlights, rope, first aid, and a compact pistol she kept hidden from sight. Cedar sniffed the air, ears pricked. Lucien pointed through the trees. It's that way. The gate was indeed cut.
Links.
Hung like snapped bones. Beyond it, a cracked concrete yard led to a loading dock buried in weeds. Marcus motioned them forward in silence, body moving with the memory of countless night patrols overseas. Halfway across the yard, Cedar stopped. Dead. A single measured knock echoed from somewhere inside the mill. Knock. 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 Marcus froze. Lucien's breath hitched. That's his signal, the boy whispered. Oscar's. But Marcus knew better. Draxler wouldn't announce. Himself, Mordain would. Nell's hand hovered near her sidearm. They know we're here. Keep moving, Marcus said, voice low. They expect fear. Give them focus. They slipped through a bent loading bay door into a vast room littered with ash and twisted metal. Moonlight poured through holes in the roof, striping the floor with pale silver. Somewhere ahead, a dim bulb blinked to life, then another, forming. A breadcrumb trail into darkness. He's leading us, Nell muttered. Marcus grimaced. Good, we'll follow, but on our terms. He handed Lucien a small flashlight. Stay behind me. Cedar watches our rear. Advance, boots crunching. Glass. At each step, the trail of bulbs lit one by one, pulling them toward a stairwell that plunged underground. A cold draft flowed up those stairs, the breath of somewhere deep. Lucien tugged Marcus's sleeve. Down there is the prison hall. Cells on both sides. Oscar said the hollow drum is at the end. It's where Mordain breaks kids. Marcus's skin crawled. He looked at Nell and saw equal fury. Drum first, she said. Cut off the head. Cedar bared his teeth, a silent promise. They descended. Each bulb flickered overhead, then died behind them, sealing the way back in darkness. At the bottom, a long corridor stretched left and right. Symbols sprayed in red marked each door. X's, tallies, numbers, grim accounting. Soft voices drifted out, repeating words like a hymn. Marcus caught only fragments. Blackloft remembers. Blackloft watches, Lucien shivered. Marcus squeezed the boy's shoulder. Not today, he whispered. Today we watch back. A sudden clang shattered the hush, the same knock, but louder, closer. 3 beats on metal. Then an amused laugh echoing through pipes. Welcome, medic Hale. A voice boomed, cold and smooth. Bring the child to me and walk away. Otherwise your past will bury you here. Marcus felt a surge of anger so hot it steadied his hands. He raised his voice, firm and calm. Felix, Mordain, you're done. Let them go. Laughter again, fading. Into a taunt. The game's begun, soldier. Can you finish it before the mill burns? As if to answer, a low rumble stirred underfoot. Nell cursed under her breath. He's wired the place. Then we hurry. Marcus took the lead, picking up speed. Doors blurred by, torn whispers swelling into cries as children sensed change. They rounded a corner and saw it, a heavy hatch in the floor, propped open, a ladder descending into deeper dark. Beside it stood Oscar Draxler, pale and sweating, holding a crowbar. He looked ready to slam the hatch shut. Marcus didn't break stride. He lunged, shoulder first. The blow sent Draxler sprawling. The crowbar clanged away, cedar-charged teeth. Bared, standing guard. Nell covered them, weapon high. Lucien stared down the ladder. Single bulb glowed below, painting a circle of light on concrete. From the depths came a slow, steady clap. Mordain. Fire alarm shrieked to life overhead. Sprinklers coughed but stayed, dry pipes cut. Smoke began to seep through vents, rolling in oily waves. Marcus met Lucien's eyes. "This ends now," he said. "Are you ready?" Lucien nodded. Fear lived in his gaze, but resolve burned brighter. Marcus gripped the ladder and started down. Nell right behind, Sgt wind, then followed, claws clicking. Lucien took a breath, whispered a promise to himself, and climbed after them into the heart of the black loft, where the hunter waited with matches already lit. The ladder ended in a wide stone chamber that felt more like a tomb than a basement. Rough walls sweated moisture, and cables dangled like black vines. A single flood lamp buzzed on a tripod in the center, throwing long shadows across the floor. Felix Mordain stood beneath it. His left arm hung useless, wrapped in a stained sling, but his smile looked carved from bone. Marcus Hale stepped off the ladder first, weapon ready. Nell Harding followed, her eyes scanning every corner. Lucien climbed down last, cedar pressed to his leg. Pipes overhead groaned. Heat radiated through the stone, warning a fire already alive somewhere deeper. Mordain opened his good hand in welcome. "Dick Hole," he said, voice smooth. "You brought the boy. I admire loyalty." He flicked a small switch on a remote. Somewhere above, metal doors slammed. Muffled cries echoed, then silence. "Your exit is gone. The only way out now is through me." Marcus shifted, placing himself between Lucien and Mordain. "Let the children go," he said. "End it here." Mordain tilted his head. "No, I'm starting a lesson. Fear builds stronger men than comfort ever could. Draxler forgot that. I will not." He stepped back, revealing 4 young captives chained along the far wall. Blank eyes, ragged clothes, each whispering the same line. Blackloft remembers. Nell's breath caught. Marcus gripped his pistol tighter. Building shuddered. Smoke bled from vents. Mordain chuckled. "Boilers are primed. You have 10 minutes before this place becomes ash. Free them if you can." He tossed the remote into the darkness and drew a long knife. Marcus raised his pistol, but Mordain darted sideways into half-light. Nell sprinted to the children, cutting chains with bolt cutters from her pack. Lucia knelt beside her, calming the scared kids one by one. Cedar stayed with them, low growl rumbling. Mordain lunged at Marcus. Steel flashed. Marcus parried with the pistol barrel, the blade sparking off metal. They circled, feet splashing in puddles from leaking pipes. Mordain's smile never faltered. "You left soldiers behind once, medic. Will you leave these too?" Marcus ignored the taunt and fainted left, striking Mordain's wounded shoulder. The older man staggered, rage twisting his face. He swung wide. Marcus ducked, drove a knee into Mordain's ribs and sent the knife skittering away. But Mordain caught Marcus's sleeve, dragged him down, and slammed his head against the floor. Sparks burst behind Marcus's eyes. Smoke thickened, turning breaths into coughs. Overhead, alarms shrieked. Nell freed the last child and yelled, "I have them, stairs are blocked." She pointed to a service tunnel, low and narrow at the far end. "Vent shaft there, it goes up to the yard." Lucien herded the children toward it, cedar-led nose. To ground. Marcus rolled aside as Mordain stomped where his head had been. Dizzy but focused, he kicked Mordain's knees. Bone cracked. Mordain howled and fell. Marcus snatched the fallen knife and pressed it to Mordain's throat. Steam hissed. Flames licked through wall cracks. "Keys," Marcus ordered. Mordain laughed even then. "Keys won't help you. Fuel lines will." He nodded toward the ceiling where red valves glowed. One spark, and the chamber would torch. Marcus realized Mordain had wired everything to burn whether he lived or died. He flipped the knife away, grabbed Mordain by the collar, and dragged him across the floor, gulping smoke. "You're coming," he said. "You answer for this." They reached the tunnel entrance. Nell crouched, guiding each child through the narrow shaft. Lucien waited with Cedar, face streaked with soot but steady. Marcus thrust Mordain forward. The man resisted until Lucien stepped up, eyes like flint. "Move," the boy said. Something in his voice pure, unafraid made even Mordain obey. Single file, they crawled. The tunnel walls rattled under distant explosions. Hot air roared behind them, chasing every breath. Mordain muttered curses, but Cedar snapped his jaws once.
House.
Silence followed. 10 yards in, daylight cut through a rusted grate above. Nell braced her shoulders against it, forced it upward, and pushed each child onto a weed-choked slope behind the mill. Marcus shoved Mordain out next, then hoisted Lucian and Cedar. He climbed last as a thunderous blast shuddered the ground. They tumbled onto cold grass. Flames burst from the mill roof, pillars of fire clawing the night. Windows blew out. Black smoke folded into the sky. Emergency sirens wailed in town below. But here the only light came from the burning monster they'd escaped. Nell cuffed Mordain with zip ties, then radioed coordinates to state police. Marcus checked the children, eyes clearing, lungs heaving but alive. Lucian knelt by Cedar, stroking the dog's fur. Sparks rained on them like angry fireflies. Mordain spat dirt. You think cages can hold truth? Others will rise. Marcus knelt beside him. Maybe. But tonight, a few fell. He stood, turning his back on the man's snarl. Police cars arrived, lights splashing red and blue across broken walls. Medics wrapped blankets around the children. Firefighters rushed past to douse what they could. Nell spoke with officers, handing over her file, every photo, every path to the rest of Mordain's web. Marcus and Lucian watched from the roadside. Heat from the blaze warmed their faces even at a distance. Cedar leaned against Lucian's hip, tail thumping softly despite the chaos. After a while, Lucian broke the quiet, said, "Fear builds stronger men." He shook his head. "Fear just breaks them." Marcus looked down at the boy, seeing both the scars and the iron underneath. "Fear can break," he agreed, "but courage builds." When you chose courage, Lucian thought about that. Flames cracked, beams collapsed in sparks. What happens now? Marcus glanced at the children being loaded into ambulances, at Mordain hunched in the back of a patrol car, and at Nell scribbling statements under a street lamp. He said, "We heal. And when the next shadow shows up, we face it together." Lucian slipped a hand into Marcus's. Cedar barked once, short and sure, as if signing the contract himself. Distant sirens faded. Night settled over the ruined mill, its evil burning down to glowing coals. Weeks later, newspapers would call it the Dreadmore Rescue, would hail Marcus and Nell as heroes, would print photos of Lucian hugging Cedar under clear skies. But none of those headlines could capture the small truth on that moonlit road. A soldier, a boy and a dog had walked through fire, and on the other side they found something worth more than safety hope. Marcus squeezed the boy's hand, and in the rising hush he heard not alarms, not screams, but the simple breath of survivors learning they could dream again.